another match point.
Incredible third set here.
They changed their strategy a little bit and they fought their way back in.
There it is. Game, set, and match.
Hello and welcome to the 2024-25 APTA Tour. We're live from the Meridian Hills Country Club, bringing you the Indianapolis Open with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsors, Volley and Corian. Tournament support has also been provided by the following local sponsors. Our title sponsor, Matt King Realty. Our gold sponsors, Pi Alpha, Burge and Held, Dinsmore Law, Cooper Enterprises, Taft Law, Bullet Bourbon, and Xenon Paddle. I'm Patty Hogan, along with the one and only Guy Moore, bringing you the men's final between the number 2 seeded team of Guillermo Nunez and Mark Powers up against the tournament number 3 seeded team of Tyler Frazer and Eric West. Welcome, Guy.
Morning, Patty. How are you?
Oh, I am great this morning. What a treat we have in front of us.
We sure do. 24 degrees here in Indy. Let me introduce our players. Across on the top of our screen to the right, we have Tyler Frazer at the white sweatshirt, blue hat. His partner, Eric West, the lefty, blue shoes there. Closest to us on the backhand side with the light blue vest, Mark Powers, and his partner, Guillermo Nunez, another lefty. And you said it, Patty, we have the number 2 and 3 seeds here. And I tell you, very similar teams. Both teams do a lot of the same things well, so it's going to be a great match.
Who's up in that umpire chair today?
Oh, we got Patrick Harrell up in the chair, and we are playing the best 2 out of 3 sets. How do you see this match going, Patty? Short, long, in between?
I'm going to say longer than an hour and 45 and shorter than 6 hours.
Okay. Yeah, you can't lose with that. Can't lose with that.
Yeah, I mean, these guys played before quarters of Short Hills, I believe, and 2-2 win there for Powers and Nunez. At the same tournament, we had a 5-hour match. Thankfully, Rigolato and Salazar aren't here because if they were, it would be 5 hours no matter what. Those guys are country's number 1 team, but the 2 and 3 teams here. I like your comment about they play similar styles, Guy, and we'll elaborate on that as play evolves in front of us here. All of these guys, I mean, Nunez, Powers, they have 1 tournament win this season, Guy, coming into this, but they still have the giant one from last year when they beat Salazar and Rigolato in the finals of the men's nationals up at the country club in Brookline, Mass. So, that even though they haven't won that many events, everyone knows they still got the biggest win of last season. And Frazer West, Guy, when they teamed up this season, we knew they were going to be an explosive, dynamic team. And, they've proven it. They, have won some tour events. And I would think that going into nationals, regardless of the outcome of this match, either of these 2 teams could be our national champions in Philadelphia in 2 weeks, Guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the Short Hills match between these 2 teams, I was fortunate enough to call that match. And I tell you what, Nunez and Powers played probably one of the cleanest matches I've seen. Mark Powers' forehand was devastating. So I look for when Frazer's hitting overheads to Powers, he definitely needs to get the ball to the side back to eliminate that weapon. But Nunez and Powers at Short Hills, Patty, they shared some of the responsibilities with the overheads, which is good when you're on the same page, and they seem to be in that tournament. But both their overheads just offer a different variety of spins, and Frazer West the same. I mean, you got 2 lefty-righty teams here. West overhead is, he carves it up nicely, and Frazer adds a different spin, very similar to Powers overhead. So the variety is good for both of these teams.
Frazer West, looking for their 4th title of the year here. I feel for them as a team. If they could pull off a win over our defending national champs, that would be an amazing amount of momentum going into the Philly Nationals, guy. Where Nunez and Powers, you kind of feel like with those guys, you're not sure exactly which version of them is going to show up. Would you say that's accurate?
I would, because Short Hills, going back to Short Hills, which, I mean, I think we all agree, I mean, could have been the Nationals' draw. I mean, it's going to be very similar, and it's, you know, you had the version that was, I mean, probably the same version we saw at the Nationals last year with Powers and Nunez playing against Frazer West. I mean, it was a quick victory. It wasn't even probably as close as 2-2. They just played that well, and then the next match they didn't play nearly as well. So you're right. I mean, if they could be consistent, then, I mean, obviously they're our reigning national champs, but certainly able to do it again.
You know, the tour kicked off in Montclair. We're about 20 weeks later, Guy, and Cup standings, there's some, in the APTA Cup standings, there's going to be some ramifications here. If Frazer, Morgan, Nunez are all kind of packed in there currently, Guy, in the standings, and if Nunez and Powers win this match, I think it ends up being a 2,000 difference, and Nunez goes in the money versus being out of the money. So for him, there's some implications on this. And then their national rankings, these guys are neck and neck with each other. And Karen Najelnik, who does a great job for us behind the scenes for APTA, organizing all the announcing and many other things, tournaments. She's going to send us some updated intel on if the outcome of this match has bearings on maybe even seeds for the national championship. Coming into this, Regalado Salazar, number 1 in the country, McNerney Morgan, number 2, Durant Mitchell, number 3, with that huge win at Short Hills, and Nunez Powers were 4 coming into this, followed by Frazer West 5. So, you know, this is huge for everything, Guy. Money, standings, seedings, rankings.
And by the way, Patty, the names and teams you just ran down, I firmly believe any one of those teams could win the Nationals in 2 weeks in Philly. I mean, it's just it's going to come down to the draw. It's going to come down to how long the matches are. But any of those teams could potentially win the Nationals. And you throw in Christian and Broderick in the mix too. You know, you have six teams that could honestly win the tournament. And what's really, really, really cool is on the women's side, pretty similar, 4 or 5 teams that have a realistic shot at the title.
Yeah. Incredible depth, especially on the men's side, makes Nationals going to be a memorable one in Philly in 2 weeks.
So, Patty, as we get this match started, Eric West to serve, you know what Nunez likes to do, which Durant and Mitchell kept him from doing at Short Hills, is move forward and get involved in those quick volley exchanges. And Frazer likes to do the same. So we'll see early on here like this. You see how Nunez moves forward there. He likes to speed the point up that way.
Well, there won't be any confusion who Nunez is, since his name's on the back of his shirt. The lefty on the other side is Eric West. Straight ahead, the other Cincy partner, Tyler Frazer. And this is a good shot right here in the ad court, near side of Mark Powers. So, Guy, before we went on air, I was saying, whose lefty overhead is going to be the difference in this match?
Yeah,
What do you think?
you know.
What do you think, Guy?
Well, I just am a big fan. I mean, I'll back up. Eric West and Nunez both have great lefty overheads, tremendous amounts of spin. Nunez is a little different because it's almost like a slider. You see West and Frazer switching in the back. And what happens is Nunez will go to that deuce side a couple times. Now, Frazer's backhand, and then Frazer's back over there. Then he'll slide it into Frazer just like that. West tends to keep his overhead going to the same side, but as a fellow commentator said once, he really chews the ball up. He puts a lot of RPMs on it.
Oh, yeah. Was that Brian Fay? Another?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, I remember Brian talking about how he almost makes the ball look like it's egg-shaped.
Exactly. And that's the ball that Frazer and West need to be very careful of.
You see, Powers looks like he's off to an awesome start in this match, and I think in the Short Hills match where they took these guys out kind of routinely, even though that's almost impossible to think about, but they beat these guys 2-2, and I heard, I got to watch a little bit of that match, and Powers played as good a match as I've ever seen him play.
Sure did. Well, Patty, we were talking too and there's our first game there. And that game looked very similar to the Short Hills match. Powers really doing some damage with his forehand. Them sharing some of the responsibilities when they got to the net there with the overhead scheme.
Yeah.
And both Frazer and West can drive off both sides. Tyler Frazer loves his backside backhand. He moves all the way up the side screen with that, places it well, changes the speed, the height. And West has a great backhand to follow that up with.
Nunez serving. Guy, when we went on air, I asked you, which lefty overhead's going to make the difference? And then we didn't talk about the righty overheads, because Powers, we've seen him, dominate matches with his variety of overheads. And, Tyler Frazer, he's got every shot in the book, and he's got that drop cutter. But I'll just be fascinated to see as this match evolves how many overheads Frazer actually hits, because I was watching a little on and off last night in the semifinal when these guys were playing, and I didn't see Tyler Frazer hit 4 overheads, Guy, when I was watching. Eric West hit every single middle ball, and even if it was like a shot up the line that I thought Frazer always would hit, Eric West came over and hit it. And it was always back into that juice corner, like you mentioned, in which case it was Adam Morgan in that corner last night.
Yeah, on paper, Patty, these teams are about as similar as they could be. They really are. Like you just said, both Powers and Frazer have great cutter overheads. And when Tyler Frazer gets on a roll with his cutter, he could just reel them off, one of them right after another.
And quickly, Guy, the draw here at this tournament, our number 1 seeded team was Graham McNerney and Adam Morgan, and they went out in the semis last night to Frazer West, 6-1, 3-6, 6-4. And that match was, quite a match with so many momentum swings. West and Frazer were up 4-love in the third set, and those guys kept coming back, made it to 4-all, just ran out of a little gas at the very end. Nunez Powers had a real strong win over Russell Bentheim and Sven Bursch yesterday, 6-3, 4-6, 6-2 in their semifinal last night. Bentheim and Bursch had a really strong showing, 4-0 win over Rams Wagner in the quarters. Murphy Schneider went out to Nunez Powers in a competitive match, 7-5, 6-2. Emhart held. They went out to Frazer West 0-2, and Emhart Held had a great win we saw earlier in that day, a tiny bit, over Hansen and Hirsch. 06, 6-1, 7-6 wins. So hugely competitive matches throughout the Indy draw, Guy.
Yeah, it's a deep draw. I mean, it is, like we said, our last tour event of the year, but everyone's just getting geared up for nationals. But we have, 4 out of the top 6 teams in the country here playing. I mean, it's a very strong draw. Nunez is so calm back in that corner. Wow, what a get.
He makes the difficult ones look easy. And then that one wasn't as difficult for someone like Guy, and he just sailed it.
Too much time to think about that, Patty. I was going to say earlier too, Patty, I mean, Nunez and Powers, I mean, they've really only been playing a little over a year. So, I mean, they came together kind of halfway through last season. Obviously, as you mentioned, won the Nationals, but still a pretty young team, and, some partner changes this year have been successful. I mean, Tyler Frazer, Eric West, a new team this year, obviously very successful. McNerney Morgan, new team, very successful.
Yeah, we lost John Hughes. Mark was his longtime partner, great friends, great team to watch. We love them. And then, they kind of just lucked out finding each other last season. Guy was on the rise in the game, and they paired up. They won the Philly event last year, and they won Nationals. So just a phenomenal team. Powers lives in New York City. He's married to Meredith. Congrats, he got married this past season. Mark is a former junior Nash champ, Guy. Get your kids in the game for life, Guy. You get like Mark Powers, our commentator, our fellow commentator, Brian Fegg. So many of the adults in this game got the right footing and were launched into paddle early on. And I highly recommend any parents out there listening, figure out where you can get your kid involved. A lot of times they don't even have to belong to a club. They can be included in some clinics and things, and that's how it's kind of grown in certain parts of the country. Next weekend, Guy, is the Junior National Championships. Sign-up deadline is tonight for a couple of things. It's tonight for Nationals in Philly. It's the deadline for Junior Nationals, which is next weekend. Guy, don't you wish you played paddle as a kid?
Sure do. They didn't have much paddle in Birmingham, Alabama.
What were they thinking?
They were thinking football, football, football.
That's right. And it seems like when we watch Nunez and Powers on the far side, it looks like Nunez gets right of way on the overheads, Guy, with good reason.
Yeah, he does, and he controls the tempo, and then all of a sudden Powers will hit 3 or 4, and it just keeps the team on the baseline very off balance. There's
love
a
the little lob volley, right?
Yeah.
But I love that little lob volley that Powers threw in there just to buy them enough time to transition back.
And that's kind of the first look at what Frazer likes to do. He does like to move forward and get involved in those quick hand-to-hand combats. But Nunez is also very good at that. We haven't seen any of that yet, but you will.
And Nunez welcomes. He creates those hand-to-hand combat.
For sure.
He trusts his hands over anybody's. And that's where you'll see him sneak in and you're watching and you're thinking, how is he going to get away with that move? But Nunez creates so many opportunities because of that movement and just the unexpected positions that he'll find on the court that you just don't see from most other players.
Yeah, I remember Patty at the Nationals last year, and Nunez did it with his full intention. He hit a lob from between his legs in the air, a lob volley from the middle of the court.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah, it's hard to forget that one. That's the ball Frazer needs to be careful with. Patty, would you rather see Frazer hit that ball more towards Nunez's forehand? I mean, obviously we want it to go into the side back, but if he can't go there, where do you think the bailout spot is?
Well, given that he can hit any kind of spin, I just think anything but the Powers forehand. You don't want to ignite the Powers forehand.
There's a Nunez.
Game Nunez Powers. Nunez Powers leads the first set, 2 games to love.
And Patty, early on here from Nunez and Power, you're seeing kind of a combination of two really good things. They're being very patient, but then picking the right times to speed up the point.
I just marvel how they just come out of the box and just incredible high level of play.
15 love.
They all do warm up a lot longer than players used to, Guy. What was your pre-match routine? Dunkin' Donuts?
Chicken biscuit at Dunkin' Donuts. Yep.
Did you get on the court and get out and get a hit in before you actually walked on the court to warm up with your opponents?
We actually did, Patty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the cooler temperatures, going out and hitting 15, 20 minutes, and then the normal 10-minute warm-up, come match time. But it's very, very important to come out and feel like you're in especially a finals like this, but coming out and feeling like you're in the match from the first game, which clearly Powers and Nunez have. And we were watching Frazer and West warm up. They warmed up probably a good 30 minutes before the match.
What I like for the start for Nunez Powers here is Nunez isn't creating much havoc. Like, they're just playing a straight-up traditional paddle match right now. Like, he's not darting and dashing around on the baseline. I kind of like that to just settle in the match. And then as the match kind of moves forward, then he pulls his surprise moves. I sometimes think early on, with how good everybody is, that sometimes you pay a little bit of price for taking those chances, moving into the court. But you see how he's kind of settled back there, Guy? Like, you don't feel any sense of urgency. He's not trying to push it.
No, and you'll see him, I was just going to say, you'll see him step up like that and just put more pressure on the next shot. And what that does too, Patty, is it makes West and Frazer both pull in because they're not sure if he's going to drive it or not. And then obviously their lob coverage isn't as good. And then being a lefty-righty, if he lobs in the middle, can create some confusion. Great lob.
Phenomenal lob. And see, that's
Great
the
lob.
problem, Guy, that I was referring to, that I saw a little bit of yesterday, that I felt that Powers and Nunez, have the ability to spot their lobs, great touch lobs to spots, and I thought that they could take advantage a little bit of Eric West playing 99% of the overheads, where Tyler's not even looking to play an overhead. And Guy, I noticed
Good.
I noticed yesterday, the other thing is, no matter where the ball went, Frazer kind of stayed on top of the net. It almost looked like the I formation we saw, Durant and Mitchell have years and years ago.
Yeah, and that lob that Nunez just hit a moment ago, what made it so good is the height. It wasn't that high. It was 100% in the right spot, but it wasn't that high and just took Frazer's time away.
And I think the thing about Guillermo Nunez that makes him such a special player in our sport is his instincts are just incredible, even though this is really his second full season in the sport. And he just, that's like, he thinks like a tennis player still, and that's a great thing in this regard where he sees those open spots or the vulnerable areas, and he's willing to put the ball to those spots.
Great move by West. Actually, Patty, I think Frazer, West need more of that. They need more of the transition type of game. At least at this point in the match, because Nunez and Powers are controlling the tempo. This is about the time that Nunez will get that slider going. Look how quiet Nunez's hands are, Patty.
Oh, he's so fun to just key in on and just watch him. Ignore the other guys and just watch him and his movements. And I agree. He's got the quietest hands out there.
Well,
it's just phenomenal.
And you know Patty as well as me, and it's just a great way to analyze a volley. I mean, you could tell if you were balanced on a volley by what you look like after you hit the volley. So you can see Nunez when the ball's being driven to him. He's got a wide base, just like that, very, very quiet.
And that's the biggest transition you see, Guy, when you bring out tennis players who start playing the sport of platform tennis, how active people are on their volleys in tennis, and it's almost the opposite shot out here. You can always kind of tell how long someone's played paddle by how quiet they are on their volleys. And I love your point about the balance after, because that is huge.
Just like that. You see how, I mean, he is just so balanced.
Nunez and Powers seem so dialed in, Guy, and very specific in their communication, and they seem like they have like a plan in place out here, from the onset.
Game Nunez Powers. Nunez Powers lead the first set.
And Patty, there's that overhead from Nunez. Just a different type of spin on that ball. You don't see Eric West miss many balls to the screen at all, and that ball just died.
Guy, we were talking about junior nationals, and one more plug. It's next weekend. Sign-ups on the APTA website. And I have an amazing group of volunteers who always help me with that. And I'd like to thank them and all the Jersey clubs who are stepping up to the plate this year. We are hosting the junior nationals, the team nationals, mixed nationals. And as you know, Guy, we can't do it without all the clubs stepping up and letting us use their courts so we can showcase all of the game's great players. Tune in next weekend, Guy, 1 o'clock on, live stream from Canoebrook, Junior Nationals.
Yeah, and the junior nationals just over the last few years have just become so exciting. And the juniors, I mean, they are playing some outstanding paddle.
Yeah, really fun to watch. And shout out to Rob Mitchell up in Toronto. Rob is the man. He is done a great job since 2020. He's brought a group of kids down from Toronto to the Summit area for Junior Nationals. And he's got 10 teams coming down, 20 kids, maybe 21. We're trying to pair up a used 15s. Any girls players out there? We need some girls teams. So if you need a partner, reach out to your pro. Let them contact us. We can still get them in.
Yeah, and you can see kind of how we discussed earlier, you know, I do think Nunez's overhead's kind of dictating the play here between Powers and Nunez, but you do see how they'll share some of the responsibility, and that is communicated.
15 love.
Yeah, you know, with the lefty-righty, sometimes when they're handling the drives from the baseline team, you'll see it's a little funky between the lefty, the righty, who's going to have to go and flip their paddle to a forehand for the shot. But these guys seem to do that effortlessly. Mark Powers, I've seen him for years, just hit that like snap low volley that was a shot I really never saw anybody else hit. And then Nunez comes along and he has that same ability with those hands just to cover that. So they seem totally unfazed on middle balls.
Yeah, and
On middle ball
early in,
drives, I should say.
right.
Lobs goes without saying.
Yeah, early in the season, from an overhead perspective, Patty, I felt like Nunez and Powers were just kind of figuring it out. But as I've watched them more and more this season, it's exactly their game plan.
Yep, and that was the announcer's curse. I said Mark has that amazing low snap volley, and he just missed it.
And Patty, you see a combination of kind of new and old school paddle here. You know, these deep push overheads, not putting a lot of spin or cut or rollers, and then all of a sudden you'll see them speed it up.
You know, the thing is, you see, like the West overhead definitely impacted Morgan McNerney in that match yesterday, and I've seen him just break down so many players. But you know, kudos to Nunez and Powers. They don't seem phased by the spins. They're handling everything.
Yeah, for sure. And Patty, you just saw where Nunez is so dangerous. I mean, he closes the net so quick, and playing that side of the court, being a lefty, he has so much reach like that with his forehand volley. And you know, we don't talk about this enough, and we don't teach it or preach it, so to speak. But how good are their forehand volleys, Powers and Nunez?
Well, that's what I started referring to before, guys, saying like they seem unfazed by, you know, the decision making they have to make of when to flip their paddle over. But that's how good they are, Guy. Guy, this is amazing. You see Frazer West, here they are, and they're down 3-0 to these guys. And you're saying Nunez is totally controlling the pace of this match with his overhead. So now, what do Frazer and West have to start thinking about, Guy? Anything yet? Anything different?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't think it's fresh on their mind, but, you know, going back to the Short Hills match again, I mean, this looks a lot like it. So they can't keep playing this pace. They've got to speed it up. I think Tyler Frazer, and we haven't seen Frazer move forward too much today. We've seen West doing a little bit more of that, but I think that Powers and Nunez are just dialed in here. If they keep playing this speed, that what you see is what you're going to get. I tell you what, Patty, how good of a job are Nunez and Powers doing so far with eliminating any offense?
I mean, it's a clinic out here.
And by the way, West and Frazer have a ton of offense. Look, Powers is on the screen over there. Yeah.
Guy, I sort of get a feeling a little bit. I don't know if you agree or disagree, and feel free to disagree at any time, anything I say. I kind of feel like Frazier's not looking to hit as many shots as he ever did in the past when he played with Adam Morgan. Hugely successful team. It was all about him. I almost feel like sometimes with them it shifts way too far and it's all about Eric West. I still want it to be a little bit more about Tyler Frazer. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's pretty simple, right? It goes back to kind of talking about speeding things up, but with with West and Fraser, with as much offense as they have, they need to do a good job of setting one another up. They need to make the ball move. Powers and Nunez are just too comfortable at the net. There's not any confusion. There's no confusion with job description. There's no confusion with positioning. So Fraser and West have got to break that down. And with as much offense as they both have, if they get the ball moving, they'll create big spaces, high percentage spaces for the drives to occur.
Again, quick reminders.
Patty, even expanding on that too, how many times have you seen Fraser West drive through Nunez and Powers? There hasn't been any transition that way.
Not once. So they're in lockdown mode at the net, and they're in lockdown mode on the baseline, guy. They look unbeatable right now.
Yeah,
But we know it's a paddle match, and everything changes.
Well, and I'll tell you this, they're sending a very strong reminder here in the first set of 4-Love why they're the national champions. Plain and simple.
That's why I said that W is equal to about, I don't know, 5 tour wins, guy? I don't even know how to equate it, but winning the national championship, it's the greatest achievement in the sport of platform tennis. And contrary to Nunez and Powers handling the middle right there was a little bit of confusion, I think created by the fact that, West wasn't on top of the net. Like, they're override. Like, West hitting so many shots just create some little situations. And that's why I was thinking that if anybody can take advantage of it, I think it's Nunez Powers.
Yeah, and we've said it 2 or 3 times in this match alone. Tyler Frazier's got one of the best cutter overheads in the game. And when he gets in, you have to have tempo, right? You got to hit overhead after overhead to control that tempo. It just can't be 1 out of 20. This is where Nunez likes to be, but he's also smart enough to know when not to be there, right?
And I like the balance. He's not forcing anything, guy. He's kind of letting the play come to him, which I love in the early going in a match. And you get your sea legs, and just incredible start. And see, that's just Nunez hands. You can't coach that in a paddle camp. Lob short and run up and take your chance. No, that wouldn't be a real good tactic for anybody but Guillermo.
Well, notice too, Patty, when he moves forward, he's covering his line because that's his first responsibility. And when I say covering his line, it's the doubles alley closest to him. And he's only looking for the volley coming at him. He will not lunge or reach or look for windows bigger than that.
Yeah, that's a great point, guy. There's a little bit of discipline in him, would you say? And I love your point about he just held his ground position-wise. He just stayed in his lane in a way. Wow.
15-40.
Did he just make that shot, guy? We need to see that again.
Yeah, he held that so well. That's, Patty, what we call letting the play develop. He just held it. The court opened up, and he didn't hit that ball hard at all. He just put it in the right spot.
So West and Fraser, obviously, because they're down 4-love, both were broken, and two break points here in this game, 5th game against West, again on his serve. Love the prep from Powers here in the ad court. You saw that ball coming out of the corner. You just see his paddle set, and you talk about still hands on volleys. How about still hands as they prepare to play screenshots? So fun to watch.
Again, there's Nunez just staying right on that doubles alley. That's such a good overhead by West. Ball was behind Powers.
Game Nunez Powers. Nunez Powers lead the first set 5-0.
Patty, 5-love, first set. Great time to talk about one of our great sponsors, Volley. Did you know that Volley has thrown 5 million balls to players working on their game? Don't get left behind. Get your reps in with Volley. Whether it's day or not, you're in control of your training. Volley offers world-class training on demand, helping you sharpen your skills and level up your game whenever it fits your schedule. Ready to join the movement? Start training smarter with Volley today.
Quick out to former Junior Nationals players who have chimed in. Kyle McClintock lives in Indy from Chatham, New Jersey. Played on the high school team. I think was captain one year. Hey, Kyle. We got Pete Donnelly and John Donnelly, who played in the Arapahoe Open, both former Junior National champs, enjoying the action. Fun to have all these players, Guy, from former Junior Nash stay involved in the game, compete in these tournaments all around the country.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, Patty, I mean, all of you guys have just done such a tremendous job with the Junior Nationals and making, you know, with all the high school teams now and the matches and schedules, and it's just, and it's not been something that has been around in terms of Junior Nationals to the degree it is now for that long of a time. I mean, just such a tremendous job.
Yep, kudos Greg Morgan, APTA Junior Chairperson, who not only runs Junior Nationals with me, he runs Team Nationals. About 500 players headed to Summit, New Jersey, and surrounding areas up to Franklin Lakes. Indian Trail is going to be a host site for us. I think you can still sign your teams up, Guy, for the men's or women's. They'll put you on a wait list and make sure all your players qualify, meet the requirements, need a PTI, got to get some matches played, and be a great weekend, first weekend in April in New Jersey, and with our fellow broadcaster, Mike Raleigh, he'll be running the APTA Men's Nationals out in Chicago out of the Exmoor Club. All right, a game point for Frazer West, Guy.
Yeah, they were up 40-love in this game, and then it's been 3 quick points.
Right.
I was hoping to see them create some momentum in their direction here. You know, whether they make a set out of this or not is not as important as them gaining some momentum.
Right, I like the move early in this game by West when he kind of forced the play from the baseline. I like your point. They've got to speed it up somehow.
And if you look at the last 3 sets that these teams have played against one another, it's just so far just a bad matchup for Frazer and West. On paper, this looks like a 3-hour battle, is what it should look like.
And Guy, why is it a bad matchup for them? When you say that, what do you mean by that?
I think Nunez is, from an adjustment standpoint, going back to what I said earlier, I mean, they've got to create confusion between Nunez and Powers. They don't. Powers' forehand gets way too many looks. It can't. So they've got to change their tactics. Otherwise, it's a bad matchup.
You might have to run out to the court, Guy. Whisper in their ear after the first set. No, obviously these guys are high level. I look for some adjustments as this evolves. That's the thing. You cannot fuel that. I love the Frazer overhead, but I don't love it to that spot on Mark Powers. That's Mark Powers' ball of life spot.
And we were talking about it earlier. How many hard side backs have happened into power side screen? I haven't seen any.
0.
So that has to be on top of the list. The other thing about Powers' forehand, Patty, and this isn't a secret to anybody, is probably one of the quickest releases in the game. There is no backswing, and the ball is on top of you so quickly. And I mean, the ball coming off Power's paddle when he's on like that is just a whole different sound.
Advantage Nunez Powers.
Great spot by Frazer. And that's what we need to see more of from Frazer. He's so good at moving forward like that. And he thrives on it, Patty.
I agree, and I feel like that's what gets him, fired up here. And that's why I want him to look a little bit more, apply some pressure. We know what West wants to do, but the overhead placement, volley placement from Nunez Powers is not letting West get, the looks he wants.
You go. Yep. You go. Have it. Take it.
Yeah, more and more of what we're seeing now, make Nunez and Powers speed the match up, make them a little bit more uncomfortable.
Advantage Nunez Powers.
And that ball was a little bit to the side of Eric West. He kind of pulled the trigger on it. The court really wasn't in front of him. He was looking to the crowd out here at Meridian Hills, just where he's glancing on that shot. And another set point for Nunez and Powers.
Patty, and you look at Frazer and West, and you say, hey, what are their weapons? And they both have both sides, just like you saw that forehand from West.
Oh my God! And what a sick play pickup from Nunez in transition to come up with that first ball, guys. Sorry to cut you off.
All good. But they need to set their backhands up, on those outside screens. They need to get more looks.
Again, the lefty in our near corner, that's Eric West. The lefty on the far side, that's Guillermo Nunez. Mark Powers, top of your screen to the right, in all navy. And in the ad court, Tyler Frazer wearing the white top. Great pressure.
That's so bad.
Advantage Nunez Powers.
Good.
I like where he was lobbing, though, Patty.
Mm-hmm.
That's the look Frazer wants to see more of.
Well, we love that two-handed backhand of Frazer.
So good. So good. You saw there, it was a great look. Just no backswing.
And look at that. Volley error forced by the motion of Frazer just moving up. And instead of, being able to look at the ball only, you see a tall player on the other side getting very close to you, force the volley error. I love the play.
And in this game alone, we've seen Frazer drive more balls from his backhand side than really most of the first part of this set. So that's good news.
Right that way. Yep. Right. Yep.
See if Nunez takes advantage of Frazer being over there.
I go.
Didn't last long. Patty, it almost looks too like Nunez and Powers they play a little bit at the net depending on where the ball's coming back from. So if Frazer lobs it cross court a little, did that make it?
I think he just missed. What a phenomenal attempt.
Great try.
What were you just saying, Guy?
I was just saying, you know, when Frazier's lobbing, Powers will hit a lot more of the overheads. When West is lobbing, Nunez will hit a lot more of the overheads. They just do a good job of never getting confused. I think a lot of it has to do with where the ball's being lobbed from that dictates who's hitting the overhead.
Right. I love that balance, Guy, that they're showing here. And I just don't feel that with Frazer West. I feel like it's just gone way too much, and I've said that a couple times. I think it's just because I kind of have always been a fan club vice president of Tyler Frazer. I think Livia's president, but I love all these guys. They're all such phenomenal players. Just the sport is so lucky to have these guys. But I just feel like I want more Frazer time.
Yeah, and you know what happens, Patty, is even though these guys had a long three-setter, and I mean, taking out McNerney Morgan, I mean, that's a tough feat. But, you know, what happens is that scheme works for them for most of the tournament, but it certainly doesn't work for them in this matchup.
Well, you said it. You were spot on, Guy. You said it early, and, you know, when people say, who do you think is going to win nationals? I said, I want to wait to see the draw because I do believe it's about matchups. And you can see right here, West and Frazer against different opponents look invincible, but they look normal here. They look like they're doing what most people do on the weekends, trying to battle it out and figure out something to try to break down, you know, what Powers and Nunez are doing it here. You know, I would say defensively, and they're not, and because they're phenomenal in their shot making, their placement, the depth, the variety of the spins on the overheads, like you said, they're just controlling this match entirely. I like that shot he just hit. He was looking right into the sun, I think, a little bit, and just pushed that ball deep. Didn't give West anything easy.
Yeah, he changed his. You saw him spin his grip over a little bit so he could just block the sun, too.
That was a brilliant move.
He gave it the little pancake.
He did. Hold your hand up so you can see. Great rip from Frazer right through the middle. There's one through the middle on Nunez Powers, Guy. Is that the first?
I think it's the second, but...
Second on a return, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Getting fired up here. Frazer.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too, Patty. I like it when Frazer gets fired up and becomes vocal like that. Need that energy. They made those volleys look awfully easy, Patty. They were not. And you can see the faster the point goes, the less Powers and Nunez do. And that's the combo Nunez likes. 2 or 3 heavy spin balls to the deuce side where Eric West is, and then he cuts it, slides it back over towards Frazer. Lets it really, really drop.
I feel like we're just sitting here waiting for West to get his sea legs a little bit and just start attacking, speeding it up. You can just feel that's what he wants to do. And they're just kind of, they're doing a brilliant job of preventing him from really getting ignited here.
Yeah,
you know, from the baseline. It's amazing.
Simply put, I mean, their hands have been phenomenal. And we know when the positioning is good as what we're seeing from Powers and Nunez, the team on the baseline is doing all the work when they're driving. They're the ones scrambling. Nunez and Powers just standing balanced.
I go.
Yep.
You go. I go.
Yep.
Does it feel like a set point, Patty?
Oh, yeah. Oh, great adjustment. Went off the seam, and West came up with it.
I tell you what, too, it'd be easy for West and Frazer just to say, hey, we're down 5-love and play a loose game here. But obviously, recreating some of the momentum we talked about, very, very important. Win or lose this game, they've accomplished what they needed to do.
Game and first set, Nunez Powers. They won the first set 6-love.
So, Guy, we'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel presented by CSM Media.
At Volley, we build tools to unlock your potential. The new Volley PTI feature breaks down your game like never before. Ever wondered, which partner has impacted my PTI the most? What's our win percentage as the favorite or underdog? Do I perform differently in 2 or 3 set matches? Now, it's all at your fingertips. The PTI tool is free to everyone. Download the Volley app today and level up your game. We'll see you on the court.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We're live here at the Meridian Hills Country Club in Indianapolis, Indiana, with the men's finals, where Mark Powers and Guillermo Nunez just won the first set 6-0 over Tyler Frazer, and Eric West on Patty Hogan, along with Guy Moore calling the action. Guy, West, and Frazer losing the first set 6-0. It's got to be a tough pill to swallow, don't you think?
Yeah, it is, Patty. You know, I look for them to make some adjustments. We've kind of alluded to it, that they do need to speed it up. They need to create some miscommunication and confusion with Nunez and Powers. Nunez and Powers are just settled in. I mean, they aren't fazed by anything right now. That last game of the first set was a big step in the right direction for Frazer and West. They did speed it up. They got more look at offense. And, you know, when you're driving the ball more, obviously you're pulling your opponents in, and then your lobs become more effective, because them just standing back there and lobbing is going to end up with the same result that we just saw in this first set.
Patty, how you doing?
Guy,
you guys, it's Ludo here from Meridian Hills checking in.
Hey, Ludo, welcome.
How you guys doing?
Ludo,
Awesome job, by
Ludo,
the way.
so it's Patty. I'll tee you up, Ludo. Okay. Well, the players are coming back.
Where did Ludo go, Patty?
I'm here. Sorry, guys. Sorry. A little busy
There you
directing
are.
this tournament. I'm here. Good to go.
So, Ludo, you're doing a great job as a tournament director. I love how you got so many high-quality teams here to come out to Indianapolis. Can you tell us a little bit about this event and the neighboring clubs who stepped up to let us use their facilities to pull off a phenomenal Indy Open?
Well, thank you, Patty. Yeah, we've got Woodstock Club, which hosted it last year. Carmel Racket Club, Highland Club are all the clubs involved in the tournament. We had a great PTI event on Friday, which was awesome. We're trying to go that route instead of the 90s to promote the PTI, but awesome.
Sure. Who won that event? Do you have it offhand?
I do not have it off the top of my head, Patty.
I
But,
believe Foreman and Males got the win over Bova and Fajardo
Fajardo,
in
yep.
that match.
Absolutely.
I think is what I heard.
Yep. But we've got a great crowd here. I don't know if you've seen any of the facility, but we've got a great viewing deck, so a ton of people on the top watching down onto the tournament, which is very unique, and a ton of people inside. And as you can see by the fire pit there on the right-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, no, your paddle facility right there. What a great addition to this. And I heard, is this true or false? 2 of the courts that are currently being used in this tournament used to be in backyards of families in Indianapolis.
That was back at this place, but we got this new facility in November. But we did have 2 courts here that were from backyards, and I think Woodstock have one from another backyard, which they're going to be.
How many years have you been involved with the Indy Open?
I think I've been involved probably 20 years. I think I've been at Meridian Hills Country Club directing this place for 25.
Wow, and this is the 51st Indy Open?
Yes,
according
it is.
to my sources?
Not officially, but yes, we've been going on for, but since it's been, yes, it's been going on for 50 years, but I'm not sure if it was APTA regulated back in the day.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you. This is a wonderful event you've pulled off, and what a coup to get the last tour stop on the APTA Tour heading into the Philly Nationals. Ludo, congratulations, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks, Patty. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Take care, Ludo.
Cheers.
Okay, guys, so Ludo's done a really nice job working with Karen Jelnick and everybody else from the APTA to pull off a really good event. There's 11 courts only that they are able to pull off a 32 draw on, which is pretty phenomenal scheduling, if you ask me. So we're back to the action. It looks like Tyler Frazer will start it out for the team of West and Frazer. West served first for these guys, but they're changing it up, Guy, in the second set order.
Yeah, so Patty, we have Tyler Frazer serving, white top, white hat. His partner at the net, Eric West, black vest, white sweatshirt, white hat, serving to Mark Powers in the backhand side over there. Mark just hit a backhand lob. And, of course, Mark Powers' partner, Guillermo Nunez, in the blue shirt. So, Patty, I think Frazer West did a good thing right there. Took a little 5-minute break. Actually, not a bad idea at all after you lose the first set 6-love.
Yeah, I think they definitely needed some time to gather themselves and come out with a possibly a little different tactic, or they are in deep prayer that somehow Nunez and Powers cool off.
Well, I think you and I both agree that the number one thing Frazer and West have to do when they're at the net is to eliminate Mark Powers' forehand.
And you mentioned, like, we haven't seen Tyler Frazer hit a side back screen into that ad court corner and really try to pretzel Powers over there. And we think that might be something that could be useful.
For sure. You know, and this goes with the last time these guys played, just not a lot of balls over there. If you're going to go to Powers, I would think that the number one thing you would say to yourself is we can't go to his forehand. So that means you're going into the side back if you're going to play the ball there. And Powers, Patty, does a great job of climbing up the side screen. I mean, he's on top of the side screen creating space for himself to hit that forehand.
Yeah, he's got remarkable footwork. So do you think Frazer needs to, I mean, I think we both agree. We'd like to see Frazer maybe go after Powers a little bit. And I do feel like from the onset of this, you felt that Nunez controlled the match with his overheads.
Sure.
I feel like Nunez has gotten a lot of touches, and, you know, is there a way to take him a little bit out of this guy in the early going here in the second set?
Well, there is. And my question for you, Patty, is where is he getting his touches from, right? He's getting his touches from his overhead, so they've got to drive the ball more and speed it up. They cannot play this tempo. But by the way, even if they speed it up and it doesn't work, at least they did something different instead of this.
Right, and Mark Powers, I was the longtime president of his fan club, but I do believe they've got to go after him, and I would make him hit a ton of. I would target him on the lobs and get him way more involved as well at the net.
Yep.
Mark's the former #1 singles player for Yale University. We mentioned he got married this past year. And a shout out to his mom, Denise, who is really the president and CEO of the Mark Powers fan club.
Yep.
Mark is he's a non-playing pro out here, as is Eric West. Frazer's out at the Camargo Club, and Guy Nunez is up in Pelham at Pelham Country Club.
Patty, what's the criteria to be president of the Mark Powers or Tyler Frazer fan club?
It's kind of top secret.
Yeah.
I don't think I can divulge it on the live stream.
Yeah. Your
Not
people
yet.
your people let my people know off the stream.
You got it.
Good.
You may have to bring them Gatorade and food and things like that during matches. You may need to cheer them on when no one else is out there cheering them on, guy. Things like that.
Got it.
That's like a good way for you to start thinking about this.
Okay. A tactic that we've seen used against some of the better teams this season, because there are players playing more side by side. You see West and Frazer playing, well, now they're in the stagger, but you'll see them drop back and kind of play together. That lob through the middle there, if you keep lobbing there productively, will cause some confusion. Was that Frazer's first cutter of the day we just saw, Patty?
Yeah, I think it's got to become Tyler time here.
It does. Well, I think having Frazer more involved, Patty, will make West better as well. And when I say better, it just better as a team, the dynamic, because if you're dealing with Frazer's cutter and then the lefty spin from West, right? It's just a lot. You can't take a half a ball off. You got to be there every single moment.
Guy, this weekend, big weekend, as we mentioned, there's lots going on. The Arapahoe Open going on, the Indian Open, obviously, the Indianapolis Open that we're watching here. And we've got another one in Atlanta, the Peachtree, going on today as well, guys. So, there's something for everyone. And, I looked up the Arapahoe event. It was won by Mitch Granger, Matt Puig. Congrats over Ian Hintz and Jay Schwab. And the reason I'm mentioning that, Jay Schwab, former finalist in the Junior Nats. So again, guy, get your kids in the game for life, get them involved in Junior Nats. And that's all I'll say on Junior Nationals. I'm done.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Until next weekend.
Until next weekend, that's right. So 7 straight games, Nunez, Powers. Dominant. And not shocking, guy, at all. I'm speaking for myself. Are you shocked?
I'm just waiting for West and Frazer to adjust. We're stating the complete obvious. It's six love, one love. Something's got to change. And when I say tempo, let me be clear. It's that Nunez and Powers just look way too comfortable. But I do like the driving from Frazer. I think what you and I are both saying is we want Tyler to be Tyler, right?
Exactly.
But, you know, Patty, we could say this too, and I'm glad I didn't say that before Powers faulted, but, I mean, you could try a bunch of different things, and then when you're all out of those, you just say what you said earlier is, I just hope Nunez and Powers stop playing as well as they are.
Right, it's kind of like you're saying they need to speed up to get in the match, but they also need the help of Nunez and Powers a little bit here. And Nunez and Powers are just volleying like rock stars.
And again, we referenced it. I mean, their forehand volleys in between them, they're just really, really solid. So there's what we were mentioning a little earlier too. You saw that, you see the balls coming from Frazer, Patty, and then Powers is taking the last 3 overheads, now 4. And now when it moves over here, you'll see Nunez take the next one. You see? So it's just, they're very defined with who's hitting the overhead for the most part. Right? That's a great lob by Frazer.
Right, up the line is the one the lefty covers up the line. And that was a good, quick little short lob that Frazer missed, and he's got them chasing right now. This is like the havoc they need to create. And I just think Nunez and Powers, they just stand there, and Eric West can unload on a 150-mile-an-hour drive guy. And those guys, not the tallest team out there, which works to their benefit, and they just make themselves a little bit more compact, a little knee bend. They absorb the pace. And it's like, that's all you got?
I mean, those are just bombs from West.
Okay, I love the pressure, the combination of, you know, Frazer West making the move, non-return partner making the move, and again, creating a little havoc just to get things to speed up a bit.
See there again, that Frazer overhead's got to go to the side screen. You can't let Nunez have a look at that.
40-30.
Guy, did you ever come back from eight games down in a match?
I don't know if I've come back from 6-love, 2-love. I wish I could say yes. And I certainly believe West and Frazer wish they could say yes. But I have seen a match at the Nationals in Pittsburgh where a team was up 6-love, 4-love, and they came back and won it. Do you remember that match?
Are you going to reveal it to us, Guy, or maybe not? I have to come up with it?
Yeah.
I'd rather you tell me. Yeah, you tell me right now.
It was Stulak and Billy, right?
Oh, Billy Anderson, you're right.
Billy Anderson. They were up. They were down 6-love, 4-love, and I remember talking to Stulak because we left. He goes, "Why'd you leave?" I said, "Well, you were down 6-love, 4-love."
Who were they playing, Guy?
They were playing Michael Cochran and Mike Marino.
Yep.
But so honestly, honestly, going back to that, you know, I did ask Michael Stulak, and we actually did have a conversation in the car, and I said, "What were you thinking when you're down 6-love, 4-love?" He goes, "I was thinking about only 1 point at a time."
Yep.
Only 1 point at a time, and then 1 point turns into a game.
All right, Guy. You see Frazer getting involved, using his legs, hitting the cutter.
Love it.
That's great news for Frazer West. It's what we both think they need more of, obviously.
15-30.
And you see Nunez right there in that return, Guy. He looks like he's going to take that ball cross court. Last second, he just kind of surprised Frazer, got that ball down low so quickly and forced the volley error. Nunez has an uncanny ability, Guy. I always thought from watching him play last year and this year to know how hard to swing. And he's really willing to hit those off-speed shots when appropriate.
And there's a good example of what we mentioned in the first set. You didn't even see Nunez flinch at that ball. He was only looking at the ball at his chest. You know, another thing too, Patty, and I wouldn't be shocked if I saw this from Frazer and West in the backcourt. I wouldn't mind them switching out, changing sides, give Powers and Nunez a different look.
All good. This point, bud.
Yep, I'm always a big fan of that as well. I mean, sometimes you feel like people are like, okay, we've got our strategy. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Well, I just don't feel that in this match. And you said it at the very beginning. It's just a tough matchup for anybody to play Nunez and Powers. But the matchup with these two guys specifically, intriguing. Number 4 and 5 teams currently in the APTA national rankings.
And there we saw Frazer hit another cutter. So 2 cutters in this game alone.
And you see when Nunez moves forward, Guy, your point is he holds his ground position-wise. I also like that he doesn't, he's pretty deliberate with just hitting that shot straight ahead so that the worst thing that can happen to him would be a straight deep volley. Everything else, Mark Powers could cover for him. There he went to the middle. That's the first time Frazer picked it up and found the opening.
Yeah, and when Nunez does go straight ahead, and you just said it there, he eliminates the angle volley behind him. It's the worst is a deep volley that Powers is going to cover anyways.
Game Nunez Powers. They lead the second set 3 games to love. Nunez Powers won the first set 6 games to love.
Hey, Guy, quick shout out to our fellow commentator, Steve Sullivan, who's celebrating a birthday today. That's why he's not on the air. A couple other paddle players have birthdays this week. Happy birthday, Leela Stafford, Jimmy Irwin, Ray Crosta. Does a lot for the APTA behind the scenes. And others, Pam Kern, Liz Adams, Kathy Donnelly, Lauren McCann Burke, Cindy Thompson. Lots of February birthdays. Happy to give those guys a shout out. And we're so happy to have the support of all our watchers throughout the APTA Tour season, Guy. You know, especially Damian Johnston, Griffin Kramer, Mr. Fitzgerald, Ron Cummins. There's just some people who watch all the time. So many people appreciative of the APTA efforts to live stream paddle every weekend. And Guy, thanks to you, you've been a huge force with the announcing team this week. And we love this week, this season, last season. We love your insights. You're doing a great job. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Patty. Likewise, always a pleasure to be with you. So we saw, Patty, even though Frazer and West lost that last game, we saw Tyler Frazer much more involved. And I like the fact that they're making some changes. You know, you see Frazer moving forward. I just feel like Nunez is such in his element right now, dictating from the middle of the court and in the backcourt.
These guys played earlier this season, Guy, in the Boston quarterfinals. I'm not sure if we mentioned that before. That was the match won by Frazer West, 7-6, 6-3. But then, you know, at Short Hills, Nunez and Powers found the magic and, took those guys out 2-2 up here, 6-0, 3-0. Just incredible.
Yeah, and I have to say, we've all been there, right? But, these last two times and so far in this match, Patty, that these teams have played is, taking nothing away from Frazer West. Nunez and Powers have been pretty flawless.
So, Guy, I have a question. At the 9-game mark in this match, okay. The fact that Frazer and West have not held serve in this match, are Nunez and Powers better at the net or better at the baseline? Or best from both?
I think 6-love, 3-love, they're pretty darn good at both.
Yeah, it's incredible balance between their net play and their baseline play.
40 love.
Holy cow, this is exciting going into nationals to see them play at such a high level here.
And that's why this year's nationals is, it is going to come down to the draw.
It will.
Because
And you see Johan and Durant winning short hills. They haven't won a tournament in a long stretch. And Johan joked when they, got the trophy at short hills. He said it's been a while and he didn't know if he was going to get another one. And they played lights out. So fun, Guy.
Yeah, they sure did. It was vintage Durant and Mitchell. And Johan did what he does so well in his range and covered the court. And Stephen Mitchell thrives off that as well. So it's exciting to have so many top teams playing well going into the Nationals. And this is that variety, Patty, we were mentioning, Powers overhead's just a different look from Nunez's. Both of them equally as good in their own right. But you see Powers cutting and rolling and Nunez and Powers, Patty, have done a really good job of adjusting to whatever Frazer and West have thrown at them in terms of tempo and pace.
Totally agree.
Was it close?
Game Nunez Powers. They lead the second set 4-0.
Yeah, they've essentially made Frazer and West press. That's it. Like that drive there was a press. And it's frustration, like all of us would be down 6-love, 4-love.
All right, that's Tyler Frazer serving. That's Guillermo Nunez, far side, royal blue shirt, the lefty. And that's Mark Powers, far side ad court. And Eric West in the black vest and the blue sneakers.
Patty, what do you think Nunez's heart rate is?
I was thinking about that earlier. I think it's lower than yours, Guy. I mean, what's yours, like 35?
15 love.
Yeah, I give it like a 52, 53.
52. What do you think mine is? Don't answer that. Yeah, he is so chill. All right, I love it. Frazer cutter, Guy.
Yeah, I was just about to say before you hit that, I do like overhead, but they need this dynamic.
30-15.
Look at that return, and he was coming in, and you could see Frazer looking to volley the ball, but probably had to look at Nunez coming in, charging, and force the error with that movement.
You know what's so good about Nunez's pace, Patty, and when he transitioned in is he's not hitting it so hard, and then he gives himself more time to get in and do what he does best. He's not worried about volleying. He doesn't care how hard the volley comes at him. It just doesn't faze him.
Come on! Game, Frazer West.
Everybody's cheering for Frazer West's first game. Another great time to tell everyone about one of our great sponsors, Corient. Corient is the official wealth sponsor of the APTA's 2024-25 season. Corient is a fee-only wealth manager who puts their clients at the center of everything they do. Learn more at corient.com.
So, Guy, I like the ovation from the enthusiastic crowd out there in Indianapolis for Frazer West getting on the scoreboard here. As we have said, anything can happen in the sport of paddle. You do need some cooperation from the other team, and I just don't see Powers and Nunez cooperating whatsoever. They've just started this match at a high level, and they've maintained extraordinarily high level of play. And they go, and Mark Powers misses the first volley of his year. No, that's an exaggeration, but great return of serve from West out of that deuce court.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that the last game is what we've been talking about the entire match, right? So it's good that Frazer and West are making those adjustments, and hopefully they can build on it. And that's when he has you in the blender like that, it's bad news, right?
Oh, yeah.
30-15.
Patty, do you think Frazer West will switch out in the back or stay?
Stay.
I do too. Do you think they should switch out in the back?
I do.
I do too.
We're 2 for 2. We agree.
I mean, we are a team right there.
Oh, yeah. Now, Coach, tell me what makes the Mark Powers serve the Mark Powers serve.
Oh, Powers, I mean, the ball has so much movement and action on it, and it's the right amount of pace, Patty, and spin.
What about his legs?
Oh, his legs are so good.
He pushes off. I mean, you don't see too many guys who serve like Mark Powers, is my point.
Yeah, he's one of those guys when he serves that I never get the feel that him missing ever even crosses his mind.
Exactly. But wow. Oh my gosh, the fact that he got his paddle on that's amazing. Great shot. Okay, that's all they have to do to make Nunez miss.
Well, look how good that lob was. And again, we were talking about creating space. I mean, he created a huge space to drive to.
So you see the shot right here of the power serve. You see just the big dip, and then he just goes up and goes into that serve, creates all that spin. And he's always served that way, Guy, his entire career.
Sure has.
Guess that's why Yale had him at #1 for 4 straight years. I like the lob up the line, really got Powers back. Would have liked to see Frazer look for his shot off of that really deep lob to Powers, but he kind of let the ball go to the screen instead.
Nunez Powers lead the second set, 5-1.
Well, you know, a game like that can either go one way or another, right, Patty? I mean, Nunez and Powers aren't going away. Frazer and West, to win this match today, have to play the same way they played the game that they won. Again, I mean, they are going to have to be that good to win this match.
Ron Cummins, our all-time biggest viewer, I think, over the course of the last decade. He's going to nudge out Griffin Kramer, because Griffin wasn't old enough to watch like Ron was. But, you know, Ron loves watching the action, and he's really loves observing and seeing all these players, and he picks up on all the little innuendos. And that's the great thing about the tour on every weekend, Guy. Everybody at home can see what these great players do, and if they can integrate like one little piece of it into their game, or just how these guys, you know, we talk about their heart rate, and they're so chill and just playing as a calmer player, just picking up on little things. You mentioned grip changes. You know, the grip changes allow for so much variety with these guys. So much you can learn from this live stream. What a beautiful dipping low off-speed ball. That's what I'm talking about with Nunez. He just picks the right mile per hour so often, Guy.
Here we go, match point. I tell you what, Patty, I mean, it's worth saying before this match is over, and I don't wish it to be over anytime soon, but Nunez just has hit way too many balls today. That's it.
Yep, we said it going in that second set. It had to, you know, you had to involve Powers more and more in like a sequence of shots, Guy. Not just one shot, but over and over and over, and just try to freeze Guy out.
Well, and Powers' back hasn't been against the screen all day long. I mean, it just hasn't. So they do. I mean, they can't keep going to Nunez here. He is just, I mean, 2 points ago, I mean, he did what he does best. And he's done that from the beginning of his career, Patty. Moving forward, backwards, great soft hands, quiet feet, balance. And there it is.
Dominant performance, 6-0, 6-1 to win the Indy Open. And, I mean, solidify their standing going in to nationals, not only rankings, EPTA Cup points, Guy, but just the psychological, you know, to have that dominant performance over an amazing team, Frazer and West. That's what a confidence boost going into Philly in 2 weeks, Guy.
Absolutely, a very strong message, and I think Nunez will probably take Powers out for a nice dinner with the $2,000 he just won for the Cup points. So, yeah, Patty, you know, you look at it, it's just it's very similar to the match they played against Frazer and West at Short Hills, just a very, very clean match. I don't think they could play much better than that, but that certainly is good enough to win the Nationals. I mean, they, again, just sent a very clear message. A shot across the bow. We're here and peaking at the right time.
And how many unforced errors, Guy, did Nunez Powers make in this match?
You can count it on one hand. You do not need two hands.
That's why you said, I don't know if they can play better. I mean, that was as clean a match as I've ever seen played. Phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we're going to get an interview with our winners shortly, is my guess. I think that's what we're being told. I expect that we'll see Ludo Aaron out there, possibly presenting some trophies, and we'll get a quick chat with Nunez and Powers. Ron Cummins, our Cracker Jack observer, reported that this is the first time he's ever seen Nunez wear a baseball cap in a play. And that's an interesting thing, Guy, because so many times the sun on these courts in the morning, brutal and no factor because Guy put the hat on, Guy. Good tactical adjustment.
I tell you what, if I was him, I'd keep wearing it, rain or shine, man. I mean, that's, if you're going to play like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Patty, you know, you look at this too. I think that, you know, when you talk about Tyler Frazer and Eric West, you know, losing 0-1, it's easy just to wipe that match from your memory. You know, it's one you could just let go. Make adjustments for sure, but you could just let it go.
All right, it looks like we're ready for a little interview.
I guess I can use this when we do the thank you.
Hey, Devin, if you see TJ in there, he can fix that microphone, so it's going to take a while.
That's a good shot of Ludo Aaron out there on the court. Nunez doesn't like to have that much, so he took it off for the interview guy.
Well, as soon as he heard Ron Cummings commenting on his wardrobe, he just decided to throw Ron a little curveball.
Okay, guys, unbelievable job on this tournament, Mr. Powers, Mr. Nunez. Tell me how you feel, how the match went. I mean, it looked to me that you were a brick wall today.
I think, well, thank you, Indy, for a great tournament.
Absolutely, thank you.
Played it last year, and now this facility looks unbelievable. So it's good to play in places like this. I think we had a solid weekend. We played very steady, doing what we do well more often rather than trying. And I think we were, as you say, just rock solid today. And Frazer and Wes are a really good team that we've been playing them, this is the third time in a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's always a good match. Happy to get a win. Always good to play with Mark.
Awesome.
You know, it's super fun.
But you guys played great. Now, Mark, anything to add on that? I mean, you guys were just solid as a rock. I think your partner was hitting most of the overheads. You were just a brick wall up at the net. How's your thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree with everything Guillermo said. I thought it was a really good weekend. You know, this weekend was our first year anniversary as a team, and so we've been working through a lot of things together, and we've been working on trying to make sure that we come together before nationals, and this was great. We really we've been working on a lot of different formatting, who's taking overheads, lefty righty's never easy, and it feels like we're figuring it out at the right time heading into nationals. We feel good.
Absolutely. Well, it was a pleasure to watch you guys. I think you guys didn't drop a set in the entire tournament. Is that correct?
No, we dropped one yesterday.
Oh, you dropped one yesterday. That's right. My bad.
Yeah, not by choice, but we did.
Okay, got you. Well, also to watch you, we're going to do a little presentation here, and we'll hopefully get these guys out. And we've got.
Let me do a quick shout out to Pelham Country Club. Good people.
Do you want to shout out to anyone?
Shout out to my family and my wife, who I know are watching right now.
Awesome.
So, thanks.
All right, so Guy, any last thoughts about that dominant performance?
Well, you know, Powers and Nunez, Powers especially, are just said it. I mean, and we talked about it. It is by design who's hitting what overheads, and I'm certain that's what he was referring to. And, I mean, whatever they're doing is working because there was no
everybody,
confusion today.
thank you for coming out to the championship match for the 2025 Indy Open. We had a beautiful day and a fantastic tournament, and I want to thank all of y'all for coming out today. And we appreciate all the players who've traveled a long way. Our winners are from New York and have a flight, hopefully, later today. Yeah, he's like, hurry up, hurry up. But I'm going to do some thank yous in a minute. But in the meantime, I'd like to do a presentation of the trophies. And Alexander, you want to come on over here? Ladies and gentlemen, meet Alexander Rossi, 2016 Indianapolis 500 winner. Alexander is a resident of Indianapolis and a member here and a paddle enthusiast. So he did say to me earlier, it's like, they make it look different. But thank you for coming out this morning, Alexander. And so, gentlemen, I just want you to know, those are the real deal. Those are the real helmets. These are not trophies. They're for protection.
Think I can get through security with this on?
You know what? You let us know. Let us know. They've been sized.
It's warm.
It is warm. And Alexander can speak to how warm those helmets are. But on behalf of Ludo and I, my name is Devin Anderson, and on behalf of Ludo and I and the organizing committee, I'd like to thank a number of people. First, I'd like to thank Matt King and Matt King Realty as a presenting sponsor for the tournament this weekend. Yep, Kinger. And a number of other of our sponsors, Brad Cooper from Cooper Enterprises, Scott Dorsey from High Alpha, Tag Burge and Andrew Held from Burge and Held, the Dinsmore Law Firm, Michael Valinetz, Misha Rabinowitz and John Hamilton and Rob Inselberg, and Taft Law, Peter French, Jeff Kirk, Jonathan Pollock, and Zach Gordon. Definitely want to thank Greg Brazzi from Glacier Southern, and also a member here who's been phenomenal at helping us with Bullet Bourbon and Kettle One Vodka and providing all the tastings that we've had. Yep. You ought to clap. I saw a lot of you tasting a lot yesterday. I don't. Yeah.
Xenon.
None of the players. And I'd like to thank Xenon as well, who does a phenomenal job sponsoring our sport and supporting our sport. I'd like to thank some other sponsors as well. Jeff Meunier, Jeff Lautenbach, the Haypack family, Ryan Hasbrook, and especially Mark Miles and Elias Arnett from IndyCar. By the way, Mark is here. Raise your wave, Mark. For providing the trophies every year. And by the way, these are very coveted trophies, as I've come to understand. Somebody, one of the better teams was telling me last night that they came to win the trophy, not the points. I was like, okay. I'd like to thank also Mary Ellen Ball and Dr. Ball and Larry Martin as well. Want to thank the umpires, Jeff Meunier, who is on our organizing committee, organizes the umpires and the hut captains and the volunteers. And a big thank you and shout out to Chad Schultenover and Clint Miller from the Meriden Hills staff. They did a phenomenal job supporting the event. The food was fantastic and delicious, and we got a little surprised by the volume of people yesterday, and they did a great job of pivoting to that, and we want to thank them. And then lastly, the host committee is Scott Dorsey, Zach Held, Jeff Meunier, Bo Garverick, Greg Brazzi, Brian Hagman, Spencer Fields, and thank you for all you guys and everything you do. And
the finalists, Eric West and Tyler Frazer.
And I was going to thank Eric West and Tyler. Have they zipped in there? But
awesome job, you guys.
They're phenomenal players from Cincinnati, just down the road. There's Tyler. We want to thank them for coming as well. So thank you again, gentlemen. Congratulations on a terrific win, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you in 2026. Thank you. 2 helmets on your shelf would look really awesome.
Good job, guys.
Great.
All right, so Guy, you there?
I'm right here, Patty.
Hey, you know, it takes a village to pull off these tournaments. They thanked everybody. I was waiting for them to thank you, Guy, for lending your voice to the stream this weekend. APTA Tour concludes here. I mean, we started 19 weeks ago in Montclair. We got to say shout out to Montclair, Medina, Baltimore, Chicago, Cleveland, Milton Point, Aronimink, Bourbon Ball, the Westchester Open, Long Island, Detroit, Fairfield Open, Midwesterns, Boston, Ridgewood, Birchwood, Short Hills, Steel City. Conclude the season here in Indianapolis. Phenomenal season on the tour event. It's going to be an amazing national championship in 2 weeks in the Philly area. Once again, the deadline for entry will be midnight tonight, as well as you can still sign up for junior nationals, but you can't, guys. So we're going to wrap it up here from the men's final at the 2025 Indianapolis Open. We'll see you in 2 weeks, starting on Friday, March 7th, when coverage begins for the 2025 APTA National Championships from the Philadelphia Cricket Club in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We'll be on all day Friday, all day Saturday from Philly. Guy, thanks so much.
Patty, great. Thank you.
At Volley, we build tools to unlock your potential. The new Volley PTI feature breaks down your game like never before. Ever wondered, which partner has impacted my PTI the most? What's our win percentage as the favorite or underdog? Do I perform differently in 2 or 3 set matches? Now, it's all at your fingertips. The PTI tool is free to everyone. Download the Volley app today and level up your game. We'll see you on the court.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.